Hello there, my name is Doc Conrad, and this is my little preamble to the podcast. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who is a part of this podcast, including all the guests and the two wonderful artists who help bring this podcast to life. At Mellowscav, at MELOSCAV, created the icon for this podcast, and at Doidaflower, at DOIDUHFLOWER, is the artist behind the visuals on YouTube and other social media sites. If you'd like to keep up to date with the show, follow the show on Twitter at CommsOpenPodcast. For the 11th episode of Commissions Open, I interviewed my good friend Kat, an artist, talented musician, and student in music therapy. In this episode, we talk a lot about their experience growing up, discovering their passion for music and art, and how much they mean to me as one of my best friends. You can follow Kat on Twitter and Instagram at KittyKatMeroow, and our art page on Instagram at OhSundayLove. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Commissions Open, an interview podcast all about art in the digital age. Here you can hear the processes, stories, and lives of artists, voice actors, video creators, editors, musicians, and many other talented creators in the era of online work. I'm your host, Doc Conrad, and today I have someone who I have lovingly called my child for the longest time, who is not at all related to me, KittyKatMeroow, aka Kat. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Do you know how long we've known each other? Because I think I might, but I'm not entirely sure.
On God, I don't.
I think I've known you since I've known you since the Facebook days. And I don't know how long you've had. When did you make your Facebook page? That'll be the easiest way to figure it out.
Oh God. My first page, Magic, was like in 8th grade. So like 2014 or something like that.
I think.
No, the fuck, we're far away. Oh no.
Yeah.
The second page. Wait, I'm sorry. My recording stopped.
Okay. So before that, you were you had a Facebook page as far back as 8th grade. That was your first Facebook page. What was that one?
Magic.
It was just called Magic?
Yeah, with a K, because I was edgy and wanted to be cool, you know?
Okay, that one I don't recall, but what was your second one?
The second one was Magical Kittens.
That's the one I recall.
Yeah. The first page was more centered around like a mascot that I called Magic. Mm-hmm. And then the second one was kind of like opening to where I was doing more than just the mascot stuff.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I remember I remember your page from there, and then a while back you decided to go ahead and when is it that you decided to delete that page? Because that phase of my life I might have like casually known a little bit about you, and then I added you probably as a friend, probably from like a random happenstance of you on Facebook saying like, hey, I'm deleting the page. Here's my Facebook account to add me on there. That's
when I left Magic, I feel like it was only like a year or two after that I moved pages, and then I also had a third page, Ukulele Tunes. That's when I kind of like, I mean, through having Magical Kittens, I was pretty open about having people add me or anything. Mm-hmm. So there was a couple times where I'd like announce that kind of thing, but like Ukulele Tunes was kind of like the last page I had.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That one I also recall.
Yeah.
But from there, I've become an unlikely friend, I'd say, at least initially. Because like I was just a fan of yours, and I loved your content, and I liked what you were posting, especially from how like long ago I was like Well, I don't even know at what point I did like your page, but I ended up following you, and I liked what you posted. And then after I added you on Facebook, I saw that you finally made a Discord group, and I was like, oh, cool! I can finally go ahead and meet I can finally go ahead and maybe go and talk to this person. I had no clue. And then I become me, and then Kat, okay, Kay and Kaya, who are two of my best friends now, and you've literally forged that friendship just from me knowing you. So this is all a big circular moment, and they were the first 2 episodes of this podcast too. So this is all the gang's all
Aww,
here. The
the
gang's
gang's all here.
it's like SpongeBob's fingers. It's like the but it's internet friends. Ugh.
Yeah, it was really unexpected to me. When I made the Discord server, I forgot who told me to make the Discord server, but one of my friends told me I should, and it was I've been in a weird phase. When I was still managing ukulele tunes, I kind of didn't really interact with my internet friends as much.
Mm-hmm.
It was around the senior year of high school. I was just kind of focusing on real life because there's so much shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just drifted off, and then a year ago, a little over a year, I made the Discord server, and I just really wanted to connect with my internet friends again, and I'm so glad I did, because now I have all the sunflowers and our D&D group and everything. It's been a time.
Yeah, I definitely think that this has been in terms of friend groups, you making this server has been the best things that has happened to not only me, but I hopefully think to all of everybody else inside the server who interacts often. I think that we've all literally grown as not just oh yeah, we're your fans. No, we're your friends now, which is insane to me.
Oh yeah, it's so weird to hear you guys call yourself fans. It's just, I never considered anyone from my page as a quote unquote fan, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was just more of an acquaintance, because for the most part, I try to interact with everybody and stuff like that when I was on my page or pages, and even on my Facebook account. Even if I don't know you that well, I'd still react to your posts and keep up with things and stuff. So it's weird to hear you say quote unquote fans and stuff, but yeah.
I mean, it's more of a technical term than anything, because
I guess.
you're one of my closest friends. You literally call me mom, and you're my child.
Yeah.
This is just the dynamic now. But there are a few things I want to go ahead and talk about that aren't just related to that. I love this, and I want to go ahead and I would talk to you about how much I care about you all the time. However, this is a podcast, and I'm here to go ahead and showcase your work, which is something that I also very much enjoy. I love your art. I love what you've done in terms of physical products, as well as on commissions. You are a musician. You're currently working in studying to become to work in musical therapy. There is so much that you are doing. You are multi-talented, and you are wonderful in that regard. And I just want to go ahead and gush to you about that, because it's really cool for you to go ahead and have that many hats and so many different things, and how hard you work in all those different things, despite how it could be stressful sometimes. And I've also wanted to go ahead and showcase your work to a ton of other people, because I absolutely love your work. So yeah, let's see.
You can't see it, but I have the stupidest grin on my face right now.
Good. Okay, so there you have a multitude of social media platforms. You are on Instagram, you are on Twitter, you're on YouTube. You haven't been on YouTube in a little bit, but you're on YouTube. You did some covers. You did some covers. You're on Twitter. You tag me in things, which I appreciate, and I need to tag you in more things. I just want to go ahead and talk about. let's go ahead and start from like more of the beginning before we get into the details of all your different things that you do artistically. What is it that you got initially interested in to be in like the creative field and aspects? Like, what is it that you were like, oh yeah, this is when I thought like I wanted to do this, and you got really passionate about it. Like, what was that point?
Oh boy. Um, there's different points in my life where it kind of emphasized what the start of the certain aspects of art that I wanted to do, the different platforms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically for music, it was kind of through school, elementary school, starting whenever I think it was like fourth grade. We were allowed to join a choir, and I've was close with the music teacher ever since I went to the same elementary school from kindergarten to sixth grade when that was
Mm-hmm.
still a thing. But I was always close to that music teacher, and she like pushed me to join. And ever since then, I've been like really in love with music. I never thought I was gonna like do anything related to a career with music, but like I'm really happy it turned out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, through like art, I guess, like drawing and that kind of thing. Really, what got into where I started was anime, as a lot of people do, honestly. I grew up with a lot of Pokemon, Digimon, Sailor Moon, that kind of thing. And I had a cousin who just I can't like I haven't seen her in years, so I don't even remember her name. But she actually taught me how to draw like a really basic anime guy with the hands behind his back, the
Mm-hmm.
spiky hair, that kind of thing, and that really sparked it. Whenever I drew that same image over and over and over, people would compliment it and tell me that I have a talent, and that kind of like stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And this was maybe when I was like in second grade, maybe. But that's what sparked everything. And once I was allowed to be on our computer, YouTube really like hit every mark of art for me. Like once I got into, I think maybe sixth, seventh grade, I started doing really bad digital art with my mouse. I started recording really bad covers that I'd never post anywhere. They're there. I have a flash drive that has all of
Oh.
it, but I'm never gonna post that kind of thing.
As your internet mother, I demand it.
Absolutely not.
I will
Absolutely not.
I will listen.
No one.
I want you. I will swear upon my soul. I will never show it to anyone, but I want it so I can like get all the warm feelings in my heart. But continue.
But yeah, I think YouTube was like a huge role for everything, like all the arts that I'm interested in now, like a huge contributor. There was also, oh, it's kind of embarrassing to talk about, but there's this website called World. I joined it around fourth grade when one of my best friends like convinced me to. It was kind of like a website where you'd have like an avatar or whatever, and you can walk around and stuff. There was like games and stuff like that. There's like forums and stuff. It was like almost like Gaia Online, a lot more like community driven, because there's a lot like in the shop there was all mostly like items that like players would create, and that kind of drove me to make a lot of anime-esque things, because the people who made the cool avatars made all anime-esque things.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge contributor too, and I was on that site until it shut down, which was really weird. But I also was on Gaia, which was also another contributor, and I still kind of pop in once in a while. It's not the same. It'll never be the same, but definitely through Gaia, I did my first kind of commissions, I guess. I did it for like the currency that they had.
Oh wow.
It was really bad. Like I this traditional art, I would use my webcam to take the photos of it and stuff like that. They're all blurry, but
Oh.
it was a start, and that gateway to like deviant art. And that's a story that I will not touch, because that's the dark ages, and we're not going to talk about that.
Oh, of course, everyone's dark ages is at DeviantArt, but that's like that is not only to be accepted. It is I demand that all employers either, if they look at it, do not judge, or uh, or they recognize the growth from it rather than using it as like, hey, well, you draw this on DeviantArt when you were like 12 or whatever. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I say it's Dark Ages, but it's really nice to like look back at the bad Pokemon OCs and that
oh,
kind of thing, like the base drawings and stuff that he did, and compare it to all the art that I have now. Like that was necessary for me. I know like tracing was like now I know obviously that not to post that kind of thing, but like I was like 12, so I didn't know any better.
mm-hmm.
But it was really necessary for my growth and that kind of thing. So I'm thankful for all the DeviantArt things. It's just cringe. Very bad cringe.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So, a little that's a little bit about your history with art, which I appreciate you sharing. So we can go down a few different routes. We can go down the music route, or we can go down the art route. But we're gonna get back to the other one first. We're gonna get back to the other one a little bit later. I'm gonna go ahead and say that we're gonna talk about your art one because that one's a lot more like easier to understand with commissions, and it's a little bit of it's not something you've stopped, but you definitely focused more on the musical aspect as of late, especially with your going into musical therapy. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your art. You have done online commissions, both digital and physical. You not physical commissions, but you've like sold physical items, including what I have in my hand, the Chonky Pikachu. I have both of them. I
Myself.
yes, I want to inform you that I have not put the sticker anywhere, and I have not taken the pin out of the thing, because one, I don't know where I would put it, where it would be permanent, because I want to make sure it's like a constant case of too good to use syndrome. It's like those items in an RPG where like I literally can't put this I can't put this anywhere, otherwise it will I can't I just can't. What if thing happen? What if thing go bad? So I still have it inside the little like little wrapping thing that you gave it to me. And I still have your note, which I sometimes
Oh,
read because it's like it makes me feel happy. But
my
yeah,
heart.
yeah. The I you have done you've done physical work in terms of like in terms of your items. You've done digital artwork as well. And you stated that like you did online commissions from like Gaia and like on Earth. You said what was it called? Earth? What was it called?
World.
World.
Yeah.
World. I have
Yeah.
never heard
It
of
was spelled
these.
like it was spelled WHIRLED, like a whirlwind, that kind of thing.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a really small community, but
okay. And you created your first set of like commissions from there, but I'd love to go ahead and talk about what you've done, how you've grown so far as of late. Like, is there anything you'd like to talk about, like when you've stepped yourself further up from that? Like, when was the transition from like posting on there and thinking like, oh, this is just a little fun thing, to doing like little commission work for like in-game tokens, to like getting real world money and like making this a part of you, like getting a little bit of earning a little bit of money from it.
yeah. I think it was with my Facebook page that I started to do commissions and stuff because as I was growing up doing art and stuff like that, I kind of caught on how like you probably should develop a following and that kind of thing to even get your commissions out there and that kind of thing. So, my second page I was pretty established. I don't even remember how many likes I had. I had maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000. I don't remember. But like at that point, people were like asking me like, "Hey, do you sell your art? Like, I would love to get a commission from you," that kind of thing. And I was still pretty young, so it took me a while to really like set prices and figure out like how would I get the money, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I was able to set up like a PayPal. I don't even know if that's legal. So full disclosure, I'm not sure, but
No.
I had like a PayPal set up. I had like a couple examples that like I actually reached out to like Gaia users asking them like, hey, if you're just post here, I might draw a couple people for commission, like examples, that kind of thing. So it gave me some experience, um, like things I can actually use to display what my capabilities are, as well as giving other users free art, which is always a hit in the forums. Like if you post free art, everyone's gonna post that kind of. But yeah, with my second page, that's when I kind of started doing commissions. I don't think I've ever, like, just because it's never been like my huge focus, it's always been like, hey, I want to buy this thing, or like I need to pay for this or that. Like now it's like for school or for my dog, that kind of thing. Like, hey, this, and this is coming. I'm doing commissions, that kind of thing. And normally, like I don't want to say fan base. I don't want to say fan base, but like my friends and stuff like that for my page and stuff, they were so supportive. And like, it was not only because they got to help me with this or that, they were getting art that they actually enjoyed, which like always warmed my heart. And I would always way more effort than I should. Like my prices were very low, and I definitely should have. I know now, but like I underpriced myself a lot. But it was very sweet. It was a good start. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely think that that was coming from like a younger artist, and you had a lot of you didn't have as much experience with like pricing yourself, and like you said, you didn't even consider them to be like fans. You considered them to be like online friends. So you didn't even worry about you were worried about like each individual person who liked your page. So you were like a little bit more hesitant in terms of like charging big things. I understand.
Yeah.
So that has been like what you've started doing on commissions, and you've done things further, including for myself, which I appreciate. And I love when I love the work that you've done with me. I appreciate that. But I'd love to go in here a little bit more about. Normally I save these for like the very end, but this is more or less the end of the like commission section. How many? Have you ever had issues with people? Because a lot of people don't either know how to go ahead and like talk to an artist, or like have a horrible vision of what they want to go ahead and give, and are bad at explaining it. Do you have any horror stories in terms of like people who've commissioned from you? Like either there be issues, or like wanting to get the wrong thing, or not wanting to pay, like anything like that.
I actually don't think I've ever had a bad experience. Like, thankfully, I'm really blessed to say that, because I know like a lot of my artist friends have had problems with that. I lied. I had one bad experience, which wasn't like a huge loss to me, but it was really irritating. I had finished a sticker commission. It was someone's dog, and I was very quick with it because it was just a corgi, and it was like, I got this. All right. Pumped it out in like an hour or so. And the commissioner, who I actually know IRL, never got back to me with payment. And me being me, I was like, oh, but they're my friends, so like I should just stay quiet. It's fine. It was like a $5 commission, so like I'm not completely mad about it, but that was probably one of the things. It was mostly, I think, we didn't communicate that I probably should have gotten payment first versus giving them the art after, that kind of thing. So, but I've heard a lot of horror stories, and I'm really blessed to say that I have not really any besides that one.
And that comes from people who don't typically like commission work. They're not one to.
Oh yeah, no, she has never had that kind of thing. She like explicitly told me that like she's never gotten like commissioned from someone and that kind of thing. So not that big of a loss. A little salty, but it's all right.
Yeah. And by the way, someone owes my child $5. If you owe my child $5, you are going to pay up. Do you understand me?
It's okay. It's okay. I had another friend end up saying like a tweet, like a passive aggressive tweet about it, and they Venmo'd me to pay for that, and that was very sweet of them. They didn't have to, but they did. So
the benefit. This is, wow. That's incredibly sweet.
Yeah, it was a very like, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So that's a bit about like the the commission process a little bit done. And that's like the main focus of the podcast, that being like
Yeah, for sure.
online creators and stuff like that. But I'd love to go ahead and talk a bit more about your other art, which is you have a beautiful voice and you sing very well, and you are
Thanks,
and
Mom.
and you are also someone who is you're working your ass off, I must say, in order to make yourself working in musical therapy. What is it that really drew you to that?
Um, it's a pretty funny story, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all my life I thought I was gonna be an English major because that was like the only academic thing that I was really good at and somewhat enjoyed versus like social studies or math and that kind of thing. But it was, I think, my junior year of high school. Um, my favorite band, Third Story, my boys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they had released a song and they had tagged or like talked about who co-wrote the song or whatever, and so I kind of looked at their thing, and in their bio they said they were a music therapist. What is that? And that really caught my eye, and at that time actually I was thinking of possibly doing psychology as well, because um it was a rough junior year was a rough time.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to be that person that someone could like rely on and help them grow and that kind of thing. Especially since I, at that time, I was also seeing a therapist, and that was like something that I never really thought about. So psychology was on my mind, and then I saw that person's account that said they were a music therapist, and I was like, oh, and I ended up searching for hours and like researching it for that night, and I was like, this might be something that I'm actually interested in. And throughout senior year, um I got really close with a bunch of choir friends and stuff like that, which was um really nice, because at the end of junior year I had broken off with my friend group, but like I really found a home inside of my choir and that kind of thing, and I was like, I want to do music therapy. That's what I want to do. I want to help people grow. I want to help people do things through music.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's it was really like, if you look at the span of things of like, I was determined to be an English major from elementary school up till junior year of high school. It was like a spur of things that really changed my life, and I'm really happy where I am and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think that it's really good that you found the thing that you've wanted to do. Not only did it happen so quick, not only did it happen quickly, but you also like had a friend group that supported it. At least IRL, and you have your online friends to go and support you through it, and I always will, because I'm your mom. But like it's always important to have like in-person friend group to go ahead and have your back in this sort of way. Now I'm going to be speaking of parents. I'm going to be like be like an old person, because I'm guessing there's a lot of people there's a lot of people who won't fully understand or have never heard of this term before, and you said you've researched it, and you're currently in school for this. In terms of music therapy, I have a base set knowledge of it. But for someone who is relatively new to it, but is open to go and hearing about it, what would you describe it as?
So the first class that I had for music therapy, we actually had to have like a definition we'd have to give to people, but so we had to come up with our own that would be a lot easier to consume. So mine was music therapy is therapy between a client and a professional, a board certified music therapist, to obtain non-musical goals with music. And so all that we're doing is finding ways to use music to help a client grow and thrive on things they might need. And that can really vary depending on the client, the population you may be working with. I can give you examples if you'd like.
Oh, please! I'd love for you to go ahead and talk about this as much as you're comfortable with.
Yeah. So the population that I'm working with right now, I go every Wednesday, and it's like a rock band thing. It's really like around improv and that kind of thing. But I'm working with young adults with what was it? Developmental disabilities. So with them, we're working a lot on socializing and building leadership skills. So a lot of it is turn taking and jam sessions where we let one person lead a drum, like our drum circle, that kind of thing. And these are skills that they can apply in real life. These are things that they can do, help them thrive when they're not in our music therapy sessions and stuff. There's also last quarter I was in a memory care slash assisted living facility where I was helping elderly. We sang a lot of songs that they were familiar with, and that's what it triggered things like exercising their memory skills and that kind of thing, which is really rewarding. Like hearing, especially from last quarter, I would from there's like two sections of the facility: assisted living, where they might have some memory loss and that kind of thing, but they're pretty high functioning. And then the memory care, they were a little they needed 24/7 assistance and that kind of thing. But seeing those residents' eyes like light up when we're singing a song that they used to dance to when they were like 17, that kind of thing, and talk about these memories. And even some residents who were mostly nonverbal, like they would make noises in response, like happy noises in that response to the music that obviously like touched them and that kind of thing. So it's the use of music therapy can be very diverse. There's also a practicum site where they work with a homeless shelter. There's a one in an elementary school. I don't think we have a practicum site, but we had someone come talk about it. They were working in a high school with high schoolers that were part of the LGBTQ community within that high school, and that's something I really want to do. Hopefully I can find an internship within that, but yeah. It's can be used for literally anything. They're responsive to music, really.
Okay. That is, I've definitely, coming from somebody who has worked with some people in, whether it be like within my former church group, or working with people inside of like, when I used to go and help out my grandma, there's definitely a case of like the use case for musical therapy in ways that I have I've personally seen, and I would have given that as like maybe one example, but you've clearly had further time to study it because you are starting to become one. There is definitely like a need for the. I definitely think that what you're doing is not only amazing, and the job itself is. I'm not gonna go ahead and say it's like thankless, because there's clearly like the reward you get from the people who it comes to, but I'm guessing there's a lot of skeptics out there. Have you ever experienced like have you ever personally experienced like skeptics from either family or people who you've like interacted with when you tell them that you are in this way? Like how is the general response to it that you've experienced?
Yeah, a lot of people get confused on like when I say that I'm doing music therapy, like what's the difference of just listening to music that calms me down? Like it's very different. We actually had a conversation about why someone who's certified in studying music therapy differentiates from someone who just plays music that might calm you down. For music therapists, it's really we're learning how to deal with what might happen after playing that music, because you might not have a resident that has good memories with this song and may react terribly. They might have a panic attack, that kind of thing. So music therapists are there to help them grow and stuff, but also learning how to deal with the repercussions of what the interventions and that kind of thing. Because not everybody can do that. Like it can take a toll on some people, but that's what music therapists are for. We're there to help them through the good and the bad, learning what their triggers are, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's...
No, you were saying, my apologies.
No worries. There's also some things going on with like in the more professional world, where right now in Washington State, where I'm residing, they see music therapist as like there's, to be a music therapist, you have to take this nationwide certification exam. But in Washington in particular, there are things where Washington State does not recognize music therapists as like their own thing, and in this state, just about anybody can call themselves a music therapist, which can be very dangerous because they might not have the skills and stuff that music therapists specifically have, and that can be bad. Yeah. And we also are like, it's becoming kind of like a classist thing, where like only people through a hospital or people who are rich can actually access music therapy, which actually we recently had just gone down to the Capitol to talk to people about our bills about wanting to get licensure, as well as like making it more accessible to those who might not have the money to pay upfront for everything. Like, sessions can be expensive, and if you're not capable of paying for that, we should still make this accessible to others. We should, like people who worked, like I said, we have students at like a homeless shelter and that kind of thing. They might need it like more than you think, and they can't because they don't have the money to, or like I honestly don't know the actual like pricing for sessions, but what I've heard is it can get pricey, and it's like about between like insurance and us and stuff, that kind of thing. So there's like that kind of thing, as well as speech therapists trying to fight us, saying that they have to go through, like, someone who wants to do music therapy has to get like a referral strictly through speech therapists, which is complicated because sure, someone might need even both, or they might thrive within just speech therapy, but not everyone who needs music therapy needs speech therapy, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Like, music therapy can help with more physical things, or like other like mental health and that kind of thing, and that might not need a speech therapist, obviously. So there's a lot between like that, like the professional world as well, that we're struggling to deal with, right?
I want to go ahead and state real quick, just for the people who are listening in, Kat, you are a wonderful representative for these people, and for certain, there's a broad, this entire field is a very broad and complex topic at hand, but you handled yourself very professionally, and I want to say I appreciate you giving not only insight into the things that you deal with being in the whole industry as a whole of music therapy, but also the talk about what exactly they do, how they would operate, and the things that you have personally dealt with being with where you working inside of specifically the state of Washington. But I think that I want you to know that not only is is this conversation appreciated, it is definitely a grand subject that needs to be like a light needs to be shown on this, and I appreciate you going ahead and talking to me about this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. We'll talk about music therapy for hours if you let me, honest. It's something that like I never thought would change my life like it did. There are some parts of music therapy where I'm just like, cool, but whenever I'm in session with, like, no matter what population that I've worked with and stuff, I'm just like, this is where I belong. This is so helpful to the people that I'm working with, and I want nothing more than for it to be more accessible to others and to help other people thrive in whatever way that I can help.
Yeah, and I definitely think that your work is going to change lives, and I'm betting it already has at this point. And yeah, I definitely think that not only like I said, changing the lives of like working with either. I, the way I see this is that this hopefully is going to be somewhat of a light shown on different people. The world that you not only major in and live in, but one that is necessary for people to necessary to listen to. Maybe perhaps somebody will recognize that like maybe music therapy could be a benefit to them, or maybe that you're with what you've stated and the ways the red tape that's been going around specifically in the state of Washington, that at least you've experienced, or something along those lines, can be a great light shown upon. And I just want to say I appreciate you telling me all about that, and I definitely think that your work is incredible to what you've done so far, and I know that you're going to succeed further in your career specifically.
Thanks, friend. I really appreciate that you're giving me this platform to even talk about it, because I talk about it enough in real life, but like if this is going on the internet, like it'll be great.
Yeah, I definitely want to go ahead and like make this. I definitely think that that specific portion of it, like a little bit behind the scenes, like I'm planning on like releasing little bits and clips for everything. And this specific section about like what it is and why it's important is going to be its whole other thing, other than just like so not only is this going to be a highlight of who you are, but it's also going to be a highlight of music therapy in and of itself. And I appreciate you for giving that to the world, basically. Whoever listens, you there, listener, please go ahead and research your things and support music therapy, because it is it's clearly very important to quite a number of different people. And even if you personally don't think you need it, it's always important to go ahead and support. It's always important to go and support not only the the creative arts, but how it can reflect in everyday life, including those of people in like those people who have different issues with like whether it be memory loss or any sort of thing that required music therapy. It's definitely something that people should look more into. So yeah,
Yeah, support the arts.
support the arts. Okay. We talked a little bit about it, and I don't know if you have anything else you want to go ahead and like mention before we move on back towards your work. Is there anything that you want to go ahead and discuss?
Um, no, I think I'm good. Or
Okay.
else if I do start, then I will go for hours. So we're gonna cut it off there.
Okay. All right. I want to go ahead and, if that's the case, then I want to go ahead and talk more about you as a person, because I've known you from the lens of I've known you personally from the lens of like talking online and like from a few voice chats, and mostly been like a friend in that sort of way. And a lot of it has been like a lot of it has been like messaging, but I've really never gotten hear more about you like like personally. I'd love to go ahead and have you like as much as you'd like to go ahead and discuss, talk about, let anything out you'd want to. I'd love to go in and hear it, like starting like back about like who you are and everything like that. Just go wild. I don't mind. I love it.
I'm whatever is not on my Twitter, or like whatever's on my Twitter is honestly the nutshell that I am.
Mhm.
Because my Twitter is probably the most informal platform that I use compared to all of them. But I am a queer artist, musician, dork, uh, parent to
Uh
a dog.
yes.
So,
Before
um,
before I like I just want to interrupt. I've had like I want to say that like there there are a lot of artists who are like that in that regard of like they are I'd say about like five different artists who are like, oh yeah, I'm queer, I have I'm an artist on Twitter. I share everything on my mind. Like I just this whole community is like
Yeah.
very open about being very LGBT.
Oh yeah, no, I'm incredibly gay. So
Yeah.
that's necessary to my life story, honestly. It's not everything for who I am, but it's important for me
Of
as
course.
also someone who is brown. Like I
Mhm.
am Filipino, I'm full Filipino, and it's important for me to put that out there so people who may relate and need that representation knows
Yeah.
that they have that representation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Most definitely. And keep going. I'm sorry for interrupting.
no, you're totally fine. I'm nervous on talking about myself, even though I'm such an open book on Twitter.
Mhm.
um, like I said, I'm very gay. I identify my gender identity has been in question for years. Um, I've been using they them pronouns primarily for the past like 2 years. I've been like questioning it for the last like 4 or 5 years. I'm still somewhat comfortable with she her pronouns, and that it's been a long process. It's still in progress, and it's
Mhm.
fine that um I am pansexual. I currently have a partner who I've been dating for a year and 5, almost 6 months.
Mhm.
He's very sweet, very
Yes.
kind. Um, and I'm trying to think, what is
Here.
what's
I'll
cool about me?
no.
What can I say that will make me seem cool on this
No,
podcast?
no. Listen, this isn't about like wanting to like. This whole section is not so much more of a like. How do I put this? Like, this isn't you going ahead and trying to be like, oh, I'm so cool, I'm X or Y. What I'm here for is to like. I've basically like loved not only your work, but like you're one of my I consider you to be one of my closest friends. So hearing more about like I don't know the way you grew up or the people in your life or like how everything like happened and anything that's like majorly impacted you, I'd love to go and hear about it.
Oh yeah, okay. That gives me more direction. So I grew up I was born in Germany, Heidelberg, Germany, where because I was a military brat, and so throughout my childhood, I actually didn't move around like most military kids did. I stayed once my brother was born, who was also born in Germany. We traveled a bit. Don't remember anything because I was like 2. But once my dad was stationed in the States, we stayed in Washington, and I basically grew up here. Besides high school, which I can talk about later, but Washington has been my home for a very long time. I think we moved here when I was 2. We first lived on base, and then we kind of moved right off of Fort Lewis. And the environment that I grew up in was somewhat traditional, somewhat pretty American, because with my dad, he was the one who actually wanted to go travel to different stations while we had a childhood here. Um, it was very weird trying to fit in as I actually that's a lie. I actually didn't have that much of a problem being a brown kid because there were in my area there's actually a lot of other like Filipinos and other Asians, a lot of people from Guam specifically. So I was able to relate to a lot of people pretty easily. Um it was still kind of different though being Filipino, where like we would go to all these parties and that kind of thing, like these Filipino parties and stuff like that. I would call literally everyone my auntie or my uncle when they weren't actually blood related or anything. It was just kind of a cultural thing. So I grew up with like a little cultural thing like that.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up with like I can't even think if there was any actual Filipino kids in school. So that was a little different, but I still so that's where like I grew up pretty like the Americanized part of me, obviously, especially with like also my mom was also gone working all the time, and my grandma had actually raised. She would always be at home with me and my brother, that kind of thing. So it was kind of hard to find myself. Like when I think about it now, I really struggled with that. How to identify myself if I was just like the hyphen of Filipino American was something that I was struggling with a lot, especially when I got older. But elementary school, I mean, like it was fine. It was chill. When I started getting into like middle school or junior high, because they had 6th grade in elementary school, and you'd start 7th grade and then 7th, 8th, 9th in junior high. It was different. It was trying to, especially since we were becoming teens and stuff, it was also the time that I was kind of questioning, do I like girls? I would find myself like, well, I had a couple of friends that were in like really shitty relationships because, it's middle school. But I would think to myself, I would treat so and so better if I was, and that kind of like made me start to think, do I like girls? And I had a friend who I won't name, but she had been one of my best friends since like 4th grade. She was a year older than I was, and she was actually bisexual. I think she's lesbian now, but she was the one who really like talked to me about like, hey, it's okay to like both. It's okay to like just girls, or it's okay to just like guys. And that's where like I've kind of learned where like it's not wrong to like for a guy to like a guy. And I never like ever, I don't think I ever had a problem with any of that. But I always kind of question it for myself because of not only my culture, but like there wasn't that many people who were out at that time for like everyone seemed chill with it, but there wasn't that many people out, so where I could think about like I would possibly date that person, that kind of thing. And then 8th grade, it was kind of weird because so my family was trying to move to Georgia when I got into 8th grade. And then some things happened, and then I ended up coming back to Washington my freshman year, and then I went back to Georgia. But that's a whole different story that is not super necessary for like my growth and stuff. But 8th grade was like a huge culture shock to have all these white kids everywhere, and I was like, there are 4 brown kids in the school, and I'm related to. They're all like all the Filipino kids there. I was related to, and suddenly it was really weird, and very much I could not be out. Like I was questioning it a lot, and I had friends that made me feel safe and made me feel safe about talking about and questioning it. And that was actually the time that I kind of like established, okay, I think I like girls. And that was actually also the time that I was learning what non-binary meant, what androgynous meant. And at that point I was thinking maybe I just kind of liked the androgynous look, that kind of thing. And 8th grade was a wild time. It was a lot of growth, like I said. Huge culture shock, but it's very, very, very different from what I was, especially because I was living with some family, and I didn't have my parents to rely on as I did because childhood drama. I'm very bad with abandonment and stuff like that kind of thing. But so anything really, 8th grade was just kind of a mess, but definitely necessary for my growth, especially understanding that I'm queer and figuring out that kind of thing, and figuring out, oh, I had a crush on that, or like, oh, I really like that girl, but she's straight, that kind of thing. Once I got to 9th grade, like I said, I came back to Washington just for my 9th grade. It kind of just went by in a blur because I'm still connected to some of my friends from 9th grade, but because I knew that I was for sure going back to Georgia, it was just kind of meh. And that year I was really connected to my internet friends, I think the most, because I was making connections IRL, yes, but like I was making stronger bonds online. And that's when I started like talking to a couple people who are still in my life and still impact my life. That's when I started talking to. She used to go by Plaid Peaches. Her name is Ash, and Sean Pie. Sean Pie. Sean, he's a headache. I love him, but he's a headache. That's kind of when I started blowing up on Facebook and like becoming friends with a bunch of people and that kind of thing. And that's where I kind of developed a space where I could really be myself. And I will open my Facebook memories and cringe so bad at what I post and stuff like that. But that helped me grow, and that helped me find like the best friends that I have for life. Through the 9th grade, I was getting a lot more comfortable with who I was, and there was a couple things that I won't mention that really like cleared up a couple of things for me, like my traumas with like abandonment and that kind of thing. It's pretty heavy to talk about, but yeah. Moving on.
No. You're so fine. You're so fine.
Yeah. Moving on to when I moved back to Georgia, it was really weird. I kind of sort of transitioned to settling into more of the IRL space that I was in versus like my online presence. I was still very in touch with those who I was talking to, or like all my internet friends I was still very close to and that kind of thing. But sophomore year, also when I got Chester, my dog, the loaf of my life.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that really changed for the better, especially
I literally don't mean to interrupt. Like,
you're totally
I don't
fine,
interrupt
go for
with
it.
this. Chester is the best thing to ever happen to anyone ever. I will die for your dog.
That actually, like, sophomore year when I had the page Magical Kittens, I started when I got Chester. Like a little bit before that, I started doing like a daily Korg. I'd post every day of like some random dog, and then when I got Chester, obviously it was all Chester. I actually still sometimes when I reflect on that kind of thing, and post about it on like the Facebook account that I have for like all my internet friends and stuff, there was people who would like message me and tell me how much daily Korg actually meant to them and how that like was the best way to start their day, and like that still sticks with me. I made very little effort to share photos of my cute dog, and that actually stuck with people, and that actually some people would tell me like that was like the highlight of their day, that kind of thing. And ooh, I'm getting teary-eyed.
Your dog saves lives, by the way. Like full stop.
Like it really made a difference in some people's lives, and that was such a small thing to do, and I actually made an impact on people through sharing dog pics. Like that was crazy. Sophomore year though, it was like getting into like running that page, but also doing high school things and making high school friends, that kind of thing. Trying to think. Sophomore year was also, it was either sophomore year or junior, but like sophomore year, like a lot of like page drama was happening. Like Facebook page drama. That was a different kind of drama.
Yeah.
This is a different kind of drama. There was a lot of things with like people would. I remember they had like confession pages, which is so stupid. But I still think about it sometimes. This one person had confessed that I was a dog shit poster, and they hated me for that reason or something like that. I never found out who that was, and that's fine. But like, they really try to roast me and say that I was a dog shit poster. That still sticks with me for some reason.
That is no. If you're out there right now.
No, it's okay. I thought it was just hilarious, and like people were defending me so quick about that, which like it was crazy to me. Like being on Facebook and stuff, I didn't expect to develop such a close-knit community or like be immersed in a community like that. It was very different from like IRL. Some people, it was just comparing the two was very different. I felt a lot safer online with my friends, and I knew that I could always run to any of my internet friends for any kind of support that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really thankful for that. Even now, like, I'm not super immersed online as I used to be, but I know for a fact, like, if I ever needed anything, I could go to them. I know I would still take a bullet for every single one. And they still support me through everything. Like, I don't know. You probably know him, G.
Mm-hmm.
The creator of Rosebuds and Kurami and Pen and Ink.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the sweetest souls on this planet. He recently had bought one of my pens and stuff, and that just kind of like melted me. He's been a supporter of my art and stuff. Like, he's commissioned me several times in the past and that kind of thing. And really, he's dear to my heart. I would give up my life for him.
No cap on God.
No cap.
No, listen. No cap.
God.
No, listen. No cap on God. I want him on the podcast. Like,
Did you reach out to him?
I haven't yet, and I'm scared to, but I want to. But yeah, that's like that's
do
gonna.
it for you.
Oh, gee, okay. I have to go ahead and research a lot because I only know about Life with Karami, and like I liked his page a while back, but I'm gonna hardcore research his stuff and like figure all that out. But
He is the sweetest soul. Like, I want to be him when I grow up. He has so much kindness in his heart, and whenever he compliments me on things and like how kind I am and that kind of thing, I actually cry because he's just too good for this world.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of my inspirations. I'm sure I've told him a couple times, but he's definitely one of my inspirations from the Facebook page days. There was a couple of pages that I really looked up to, and like were the reasons why I continued and stuff. Trying to think. The junior year, I kind of fell off of Facebook thing because high school was rough and boys are stinky.
Oh.
And real life was stinky. It was very much battling with family and stuff where my mental health had been like, it was something that I was always thinking about. Like, at that point I was thinking that I probably have anxiety, I probably have depression, and talking with my family was not the greatest and not the most fun. It was like around the time that my grandmother had passed away that I kind of started opening up about my depression and that kind of thing. And they were like, oh, you'll get over it. And like, obviously, I'm not over it. It's not a phase. But with that, I kind of distanced myself from everyone IRL as well as online and that kind of thing. Senior year rolls in and I'm doing better. Definitely doing better. I grew. I chopped off my hair. I had my hair chopped junior year, but I was feeling myself senior year.
Oh, I totally remember long hair cat.
We don't want to talk about long hair cat.
No, listen. I want to talk about every cat that I know because I love all of them, but they're always yeah.
Short hair cat, my self-confidence had boosted so much when I chopped off my hair the beginning of junior year or whatever. Like, that was a huge turn in my life for me. Chopping it off, it really helped me like figure out, like, it helped me kind of pave the way into thinking about more about my gender identity and my expression. Actually, like, when I still had long hair, I was like kind of like putting my long hair into a beanie and making it look like I had short hair and putting it, like, I really thought about it. Like, I had been thinking about chopping my hair for years, but I would look at myself and like, maybe I'm not a girl. Like, it actually like changed a lot for me and made me question a lot. So when like I chopped off my hair, I became a lot more masculine within my or like androgynous in my clothing and that kind of thing. I'd wear like button ups all the time. I'd wear cardigans with button-ups, that kind of thing. I'd wear a lot more like baggy clothing, and it made me feel good. It made me feel like, which can be hard in Georgia weather, so hot and humid and stuff. But like, it made me feel a lot more comfortable with who I am. Even when I was doing like hyper feminine clothing and stuff, I still felt really good in that. But like, I was finding a disconnect if I was like completely a girl or not, which is still a thing that I'm working on. But I'm leaning towards where like I probably don't feel as much of a girl that I am. But that's still in progress, and that's okay.
Yes, it 100% is. No, go ahead. Keep going.
You're totally fine. That was like a huge turning point for me. Definitely the people in my life at that time who were really supportive of me chopping my hair, like Ash. Ash had a pixie cut at that point too, and she had been a huge advocate for me for that, which was really nice. And all my internet friends were very huge advocates for that. I remember when I posted the first initial chop, everyone was going nuts, and I was like, yes. And that was like when I had the phase of like flower prints. That was like my alter ego that was so much cooler than I was, and that kind of thing. That I actually made it to OC, but I haven't. Anyways, but
fine.
Yeah, the hair chop was very important in figuring out who I want to identify as, and I don't regret it at all. I'm never going back to long hair ever. Like, the short hair really helps me with the slight dysphoria that I sometimes get with who I am and stuff.
Yeah.
I think, senior year was all right. I'd never go back. It was very stressful when I look back to it, but finally getting out and like settling, like I'm going back to Washington. This is going to happen, and I'm going to be doing music therapy. There was like a lot of growth within just that 1 year. And that was probably around the time that I started kind of using they them pronouns as well, which was like a huge step for me. I was using that like with online friends, and it felt nice. Like whenever they would just casually like refer me as they them, I was just like, oh, that felt kind of nice. And then I slowly started integrating, and I actually came out when I graduated as well. Like completely came out. That was a hard time with my parents when it was August. At this point, I was already like out to a lot of my cousins. I was out to Kiko was the first. My brother, he was the first person I ever came out. IRL. He like my parents didn't take it very well, and it's still a conversation that we'll have to touch on another time. But like after graduating stuff, I was like, I have to say something. I can't be sitting in this closet if I like all scared and stuff, because once I go to college, I want to date. I want to like find someone that makes me happy, that kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not gonna always look for it, but like if I talk about my love life, I don't want my parents to be like, you're dating a girl or you're dating someone who doesn't identify as either. So that was something that I held on to like until I moved out, because then I knew if they didn't take it as well when I moved out, it's fine. I'll have this space by myself and that kind of thing. And moving across the country from my family and stuff like that has been really helpful with my mental health and processing everything by myself. Sometimes it sucks to be alone, but like it was very necessary for me to get away from my homophobic, transphobic, racist town that I was in. Thankfully, like my high school in particular wasn't as bad as it could have been as in other places, but I knew there was a lot more microaggressions. There was like a lot of microaggressions and that kind of thing that I was fed up with. So coming to Washington has been like huge for me. I've been able to reconnect with like my family friends that live here, and they're incredibly supportive of whatever I do. It's really nice to actually be around people who are taking the time to understand, and like they ask me like, how are you doing, or like, how are you really doing, do you need any help, like certain ways that I can help you. Like they're very open and kind with no matter what I do and who I am, which was hard for me to get from certain people that I really wanted to please back in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I want to say a few things. First off, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I know it can feel like a lot sometimes, and this sort of thing, like, it may have come out like more naturally, but it's still like a really big thing. And I thank you so much for not only trusting myself, but everyone listening, with hearing the struggles that you've went through and the feelings that you've gone through, and the sort of thing is not only important for other people to listen to, because they need to hear about this as well, but also like there's just a lot of things in there that even I could go ahead and relate to. Not in the exact same ways, obviously, but there's like little nuggets that like I can go ahead and pick out, and there have been a lot of different. I definitely think that you are incredibly strong. I think that the work that you do is amazing, and the struggle that you've gone through has been one that, um, while it has been difficult for you, I am so glad that I'm so glad you're on the winning side out of all of it, because I know there's quite a few number of people who haven't had that opportunity, or lived through all of that, but still have issues they are dealing with. And I'm glad that you're here right now speaking with me and talking all of this, because there's some people who are still quiet about it, from either their dealing it with themselves, like culturally, or from their parents, or from their guardians or whatnot. There's a lot of people who are going through it, and I appreciate you speaking up on everything that you've gone through, especially in your formative years. Thank you for all of that.
yeah, for sure. I'm very open about it. Sometimes it can be intimidating, people that I meet, like how open I am, but like you never know that like the next person you're talking to could actually really need to hear that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to me, at least, to share my story with whoever is willing to listen and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being vulnerable can be really hard, but like I feel like it's a lot easier when you know that people around you are just like you and want to support you and help you through the tough times because they know how it feels and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
um like I said, you are very open with this, and it's a good thing for people to go in here. um I am we're reaching about an hour, and I don't want to go ahead and cut you off from anything, but there is one thing I want to read real quick, which I sometimes take a look at. I hinted at it earlier.
Oh boy.
And Andrew, thank you so much for being such a kind, generous, loving friend. You mean the world to me. Little heart, another little heart, cat, two Shiba Inus with a little piece of mail and a little paw prints. I, I read that whenever something bad's going on, and it has. I'm fortunate and unfortunate enough to like not have to read that too often, but when I do, it always brightens my day. Your work on stickers, on pins, on your artwork, your music covers that you've done, your work with your ukulele, the music therapy stuff that you do, all of that. You are an incredibly varied, talented, wonderful individual who has gone through a whole lot, and the work that you have done is amazing. The person that you have become is amazing, and I am so glad to call you one of my best friends in the entire world. Thank you so much, Kat.
Aw, I'm gonna cry.
I already am, don't worry. Just a little bit, just a little bit. I will say, I'm gonna go ahead and use this bit while we're a little bit emotional. Go ahead and shout out everything. Um, your Instagram is at KittyKatMeroow. Kitty with a K. I'll go and spell it out. KittyKatMeroow. That is your main Instagram. Your art Instagram is OSundayLoved. OSUNDAYLOVE. You can find everything from there on the link tree, including Kat's Twitter, their YouTube, their Etsy, which their Etsy has a lot of different like stickers and pins. You can go ahead and get a little chunky Pikachu. It's the best. I have it myself.
Little plug.
Please
I
do.
am gonna be soon putting up new things on my Etsy. Possibly a chunky Eevee pin that I'm currently saving up for. So be on the lookout. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's going to be until all of your things are going to until one, that's going to be happening, and two, when this episode's going to be coming out. But what I do know,
yeah, for sure.
But what I do know is that you should go ahead and check out all these things, all these different links. This is possibly like not only a great episode to go ahead and listen to if you're wanting to go ahead and find someone who is very, very multi-talented and very wonderful and very kind. If you want to go ahead and find someone who is all those things, KittyKatMeroow is one of the best creators ever. My child, not literally, but emotionally. You are a great inspiration to a lot of different artists out there. You are a wonderful friend to I'm going to say all of us, and this bit's going to be a little bit for just like me. Kat, I love you so much. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
I appreciate you opening up so much. I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate the artwork that you've done. You can go ahead and pick up all those things. Like I said, on Etsy. You can look up Kat on everything. They are absolutely a joy to just be with. And I hope that this podcast grows enough where I can create a meaningful impact on at least your follower count and perhaps even your business to improve yourself further. And I'll try to get you to hook me up with D, because that'd be fucking rad. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I'll have the actual outro go ahead and play us out. All right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Commissions Open. If you would, please follow this podcast on whatever app you use. I would most definitely appreciate it. If you're just listening, that's perfectly fine. However, if you'd like, you can also watch this podcast on YouTube to see a custom commission every episode for each guest I have on, as well as to see the wonderful podcast set. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter @ComsOpenPodcast. That's COMS Open Podcast on Twitter. Finally, you can follow today's guest Kat on Twitter and Instagram @KittyKatMeroow. That's KittyKatMeroow on both Twitter and Instagram. And their art page on Instagram @OSundayLove. That's OSUNDAYLOVE. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.